Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Shining Light video podcast show, where I shine a light on my guest and the positivity they're spreading in their communities. I'm Michael Esposito, the host of the show and an insurance agent specializing in business and personal insurance. I'll introduce my guest in just a few moments, but first, I would like to acknowledge what's happening in our society today. My show is a platform to promote the amazing people in our communities, and it will continue to do so, to shine a light on the positive people and the actions they take to help each other. Therefore, I'd like to applaud all the communities that had peaceful, nonviolent protests and their positive actions towards equality. This show will continue to shine a light on positivity and the amazing people in our communities, no matter their race, gender, religion, politics, or anything else that's perceived to separate us. Today's show has also been sponsored by the Mindful Living Coaching Program. In this program, Matt Alfonso helps you gain clarity, live present, and improve your self-love. This program is designed to help you shift your mindset and make long-lasting changes. Please message at MattAlfonso1 on Instagram and use the promo code Shining Light to receive a special discount. That's Matt Alfonso and the number 1. I'll be also joining in this program, and we'll be sharing live updates from a virtual video diary that I'll be sharing with everybody. He does have 1 or 2 spots available and she'll be coming in just shortly. And her video is just connecting right now, so just give us a second here as it connects, and we will have my guest in. Very special guest today. Today is my 60th episode, and this episode is actually marking the end of my 60 show run. I've done this 60 consecutive business days, this show, and today will be the last one that I do, and I'm going to take a little bit of a break and probably bring the show back in July, but not on a daily basis. I'm still just waiting for my guest to come in. I see she's here. It looks like she's still trying to connect, so she'll be coming in shortly. But as I said, yeah, this is the 60th show, so I'm really excited, very happy that I've been able to do this run and share all of these stories with you and introduce you to all of these great, amazing people. And I have an amazing person coming on today, and I'm really happy to be. Unfortunately, her internet's not letting her join, so I think Merritt, just try again, and we'll get you in for sure. But as I said, yeah, so I'm looking to probably bring the show back in July. I'm thinking the first week of July, and it won't be a daily show as I've been doing, a Monday through Friday show. It'll probably be a show that I do once or twice a week, highlighting the amazing people in our communities. If this show has impacted you in a positive way or impacted you in any way, please let me know. Please share it in the comments. If there's any guests that you would like to see on the show again, please let me know. Obviously, since I'm not going to be doing the show every single day of the week, my list will be limited to certain people. I'm just waiting. Looks like Merritt, if you can try again to try to reconnect, to try to get you back in here. Looks like I don't even see you in here. So Merritt, maybe if you can hear me, just back out of the app and try to come back in, and then try to rejoin the conversation. This is the Shining Light video podcast show where I shine a light on my guest and the positivity they're spreading in their communities. I have just given everybody a quick update that I will be putting the show on pause now that quarantine is over and my life is picking back up. A lot of my events for the New Paltz Chamber are picking up. One of the big events that we have coming up is the Taste of New Paltz, which we are trying to figure out how that's going to look. We're trying to figure out what the Taste of New Paltz will look like. If you're not familiar with it, it's an event that takes place at the Ulster County Fairgrounds, and we have well over 100 vendors that come, and then thousands of people coming from New York City and all around the surrounding areas come to this event. We have music during the entire day. We had a car show last year. We had a dunk tank. We have a lot of activities, so it's a really fun day. And right now we're just trying to figure out how can we make this all possible coming out of quarantine? How can we make this fun and safe for everyone? So we're working on that. And it looks like Merritt is back on. So let's see if we can get her in here. Hopefully we can, and get our show started. And it looks like it's just waiting to connect. And here we are. There she is. Hello.
Hi, sorry about that. I had some connectivity issues just right before I joined here, so I had to come back around again, but I'm here.
All good, all good. Yep, we worked through all those issues, not a big deal at all. Well, let me give you a proper introduction, Merritt. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Shining Light Video Podcast Show, where I shine a light on my guests and the positivity they're spreading in their communities. I'm Michael Esposito, the host of the show, and an insurance agent specializing in business and personal insurance. If your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, to do more, and to become more, then you're a leader. John Quincy Adams. How do you inspire others to dream? Let us know in the comments. My guest today inspires others to create a plan, to take action, and to lead. She's Merritt Minnemyer of Master of One Coaching, and she'll share her inspirational story and how she took action and has become a leader in her community. Welcome, Merritt.
Is that what
you
they're
are
calling me now? Oh, here.
You are a leader. Get out of here. You're such a leader. You do so much. We're going to talk about all of your community involvement later on. But first, what I'd like to find out is, you founded Master of One Coaching back in 2018, which seems like so long ago now,
Way
which is
back in 2018.
way back. And do that, which is a transformational leadership coaching practice for creatives, visionaries, entrepreneurs. And something that you say in there is that you want to enact powerful change for the greatest good. So could you share with us what inspired you to start your practice? And then, of course, why you're so passionate about enacting change for the greater good?
Whew, that's a big question. So I have kind of a long and winding, intricate story that led me to this point. But I'm going to share a couple of the sort of guideposts. And
Sure.
if anybody wants to hear more of that, you're certainly welcome to look me up or contact me. I'm happy to have all kinds of conversations with people about where their journey has led them. For my just kind of abbreviated version, the abridged version, I started out very young as a performer. Do I take on students from Australia? Absolutely, I do. I just got a question here. Yeah, you bet I do. I would love to take a client from Australia. Please feel free to message me. That would be great. I'm already national across the country. So I started out as a performer at a very young age. I started out in gymnastics and dance and stuff when I was 3. Came along all the way through my youth and adolescent years in the theater. I went to school to get my BFA at Tisch School of the Arts, NYU, majored in acting, and graduated at 20 years old because I'm nothing if not thorough and ambitious and maybe a little anxiety driven. And I didn't know what I wanted to do with myself, because even though I know I love the collaborative spirit, I loved working with creative groups, I loved creating new stories, I loved connecting with people. I didn't love the industry so much. It just wasn't a great fit for me, and I don't want to put that industry down at all. I have some of my longest and dearest friends who are still rocking and rolling in the industry, and so that's awesome. It just wasn't a good fit for me. So I floundered for a long time, and immediately though I had relatively immediately, I had a mentor who was in arts education, and he said, hey, have you ever thought of teaching? And I thought, well, gosh, I've worked as a camp counselor, but I never really thought of teaching before. It's kind of in the back of my mind. And so that led me on the journey to become an arts educator. And right away, I was interacting with communities in which I'd never been really, I kind of read about or heard about, but I'd never really been exposed to before. I never really, I grew up in a very privileged life. I grew up in Northern California in a well-to-do family, and I had, a great education, and I'm very grateful for all of that. And so I was insulated in a lot of ways. And so I started working with kids in populations who were marginalized, who were dealing with poverty, who were dealing with all kinds of trials, certainly racism and all the rest. And right away, I was like, wow, my world has just opened up. And so I realized very quickly the power of helping people facilitating the process that people could find their own voices, right? And what that would do for people. How it helps people imagine, create their own life, imagine what's possible for them, get out of the situation that they're in, whatever situation that it is, whether it's, stressful, whether it's traumatic, whether it's just something uncomfortable they don't want to be in, and build something new. And I started to see the power of the arts for that, right? And so I followed that trail for a while. And long story short, I went through education and kind of different roles there. And then I I was married, and I found myself living in Buffalo, New York, with my husband Peter at the time. We had that time that I'm talking about, 2011. We had 3 kids. All 3 of my kids are adopted. 2 kids were still in foster care. We were planning to adopt them, and he was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. And so that again blew my world open. And after a year of his, struggling with that and his treatment, and of course there's a little more to the story, but at any rate, while the kids were still in foster care, it was a very tumultuous time, and it just became about survival of my family and survival of what I was trying to create for my life and my life for my kids, and trying to help my husband survive. Ultimately, he did not survive that journey. He passed away in 2012. And the night he died, I received an email that was from him with his last words that were directed at me, and the words were, choose wise, choose well, choose wisely, choose love. And so that, once again, blew my world up. And I didn't know what that meant because I was at the lowest point of my life. And so after falling apart for a while, I had to regroup. And again, condensing the story here, I had to ask myself the question, what is choosing love for me? And ultimately, well, I shouldn't say ultimately because it hasn't ended yet, but so far that's resulted in me finding an amazing partner in my husband, now Tom Flynn. We'll be married 5 years in October. He has adopted all 3 of my boys. And so we have created a new family unit together, the 5 of us. And it also has led me to coaching, which I didn't even realize was a thing when I first set out. But when I looked around for how can I get back to that creative flow, that inspiration that I'm really passionate about, facilitating a process that other people can find their voices, create new lives for themselves, find new opportunities for themselves. And all along the way, I've been in a social justice realm. I've done facilitation for anti-racism, anti-oppression, all kinds of bias, gender equity, all those kinds of big issues that we tackle. I worked in that field for a long time as well. So I brought all that together into coaching, and really my passion now is bringing that social justice piece, the creative piece, and the business piece, because I also come from a long line of entrepreneurs in my family. Mm-hmm. My whole family, grew up in a small business environment and a medium-sized business environment, kind of extended family. That would end up being publicly traded and stuff. So I had lots of different kinds of experience, and bringing that all together as a leadership coach, so that people who are leaders of positions in business can really embrace not only what they want their life to look like, but that they lead other people so they can continue to facilitate that process of other people leading themselves in the most amazing ways possible, so that they end up serving the business in powerful ways, and they serve the world in powerful ways. And so that's my real passion is social entrepreneurship, because this movement has happened over the last 20 plus years or so. It's really made popular by brands like Tom's Shoes, another company called Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSMETISES, I guess I got that right. Cause is the point there. All kinds of other companies that are doing this, that are understanding the power of for-profit business for the greater good. And so that's really my sweet spot, and bringing social justice and business and creativity together so that people can create a better world. That's the story.
Well, and I know you abbreviated some of it, because I had the pleasure to have you on once previously where you were able to really elaborate some more on it. And then, of course, if you really want to hear more about Merritt's story, which is truly a moving and inspiring story. I know she only gave a snippet of it, which was, of course, moving, but she also does talks where you can book her to come and speak to your business, speak to your school, whoever it is. I would especially say schools, right, where this is such an inspiring story for young people, young individuals to really become inspired. We're going to speak.
Kids, yeah.
I know you do. you have 3 amazing ones that you talk about all the time. And we're going to probably speak about them as well today a little bit, because before we get into the leadership portion of what you do, you have a really great leadership program, and it's really going to help people today with what's going on in our environment today. I really want to focus on the social justice part a little bit with you, which you kind of touched on in your speech there. And I'd like to dive in a little bit deeper, because I'm privileged to have your emails come to my inbox. And I have to say, it's so funny, because when we sign up for these emails or we opt in, we say, okay, what kind of emails am I going to get? And what you do is you tailor every single email to the individual, but also to what's going on. They're not just these blanket emails. And so the last couple emails that I got were so moving and inspiring that I said, I got to have Merritt back on because we have to talk about what's happening. I can't be ignorant to what's happening in our world. I always try to promote positivity and keep this show positive and acknowledge what's happening, but look at the positive. But I also would love to hear from you, somebody who works so hard for social justice and for change and is so embedded in that world, that I'd love to hear from you your thoughts on the matter and how we can maybe move forward.
Yeah, so I can't possibly encapsulate all my thoughts and experience in my matter in a few minutes, but what I hear, I'll say a couple of things. One is that momentum is really powerful right now, and once a long time ago, I heard Oprah quote her mentor Maya Angelou, and she said, "Once you know better, you do better." I didn't know better until I was like 28. You know, which is embarrassing, but it's true. And once I had my eyes opened to the realities of, and I, you know, there's not one reality. So I'll say that first. There's not one reality. Everybody has their own version of reality. Okay, so, and yet, so because there are many realities, we have to understand that if we say, oh, I don't see it, therefore it isn't there, that's just not the case. That's not the full spectrum of what's actually occurring in our world, in our universe, over history, right? There are some we have a collective trauma that is once again being unveiled in our nation. And that is something that is the burden of proof, unfortunately, on that is the people who have been traumatized the most. And that creates a lot of conflict. And I certainly, you know, I understand when people come out and say all lives matter. Yes, ideally, all lives certainly do matter. And also, why is it so controversial to say that one group matters at all? Why is that controversial? It doesn't mean they matter more. It just means they matter. Like, that's what they have to fight for, is that they matter. You're right. So just think about that for a second. So I've done social justice work specifically. Like I started, you know, doing the arts education when I was young, when I was 20 or 21, and I'm not 21 anymore. But I started doing social justice specific work when I was about 28 or so. And I was profoundly educated. Mostly by young people. I was doing leadership development work for an organization called the National Federation for Just Communities, they have different branches of that organization. And I was working in Western New York and Buffalo. And I was schooled by kids who were living and breathing these experiences every day. And it's heartbreaking isn't even the word. It's just, it alters a universe when you start to listen to the stories of the real lives of real people out there. So, I hear where I was going with this. So my thoughts are, I guess, that to be listening to the stories of, here's what I'll say this. It's my turn to listen again. It's people who have not been heard need to be heard. And it's our job to understand, to educate ourselves, to not put the burden of education on anybody else but ourselves, to listen to what other people need for support. And that's when we come together, because stories, and this is why I love the arts so much, and why I always love the arts so much, stories connect us together. That's what really, like, at the end of the day, a powerful story will bridge any divide. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're seeing all across the country right now. We're seeing people tell their stories, right? Mm-hmm. Testify to their own stories and their own experiences. And that is what is connecting us so much. So yes, there's a lot of anguish, there's a lot of hurt, there's violence even, and you know, there's all kinds of reasons for that too. When we look at what's positive that's coming out of this, more awareness, more, and I would all seem like, oh, we're aware, like that's great, but like awareness builds to education, which builds to action. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of the basic model for social justice activism is a build awareness, become educated, take action. So that's what's happening now. More collective awareness, which is leading to more collective education, which is leading to more collective action, and action that will ultimately result in more equal practices, more compassion, more empathy, more understanding. So I'll tell you how it's playing out in my own family right now. So all 3 kids are adopted. We have a multiracial, multi-ethnic family in my house. I have 2 kids who are African American, 1 kid who is mixed and about half Mexican and half some other stuff. And we have these conversations, regularly in our house. We always have. And while I think my husband and I, who are both white, do not feel totally equipped to prepare our kids for what it is to be Black men in America, because we don't have that experience, but we can do is keep the conversation going, connect with them, with other people who have powerful experiences, connecting with mentors, and surround them with love and listen. So
yeah.
So that's what we're doing here, and we're in a beautiful little bubble here in New Paltz where the dominant vibe is love, seeking to understand. So we're very lucky.
I'm very curious as to your son's take on this and their questions that they may have for you. I want to just establish what you just said there first, is that, what Merritt just spoke about, you broke it down into a little bit of your history and sharing with us what you did and worked in the community. And what I got from you in terms of my question was about looking for a solution. What I got from you was really listening and trying to understand that just because one group is saying, can you focus on us for now, doesn't mean they're excluding you or that you're less important. It's just that right now we just need a little bit of your attention, to pay a little bit of attention to us and listen to our concerns and listen to our needs. And that's really what I got from what you were sharing with us. And you shared some background from learning that from these children, that they taught you that. And I'm here with Merritt Minnemyer. This is the Shining Light Video Podcast Show, where I shine a light on my guests and the positivity they're spreading in their communities. I'm here with Merritt Minnemyer, the founder of Master of One Coaching, where she helps transform people into leaders. And we're speaking a little bit about social justice right now, and it impacts Merritt on a very personal level. And she's sharing with us her family and the diversity in her family. And Merritt, I'm asking you a personal question, which you can choose to answer or not choose to answer, and that's perfectly fine. We can move on. But I am very curious as to what your sons are thinking right now, especially since they're very young. I think they're just young teenagers, correct?
I have a 15-year-old and 2 11-year-olds, twin boys.
Yeah. So I'd love to hear maybe 1 or 2 of the questions that they ask you and your husband and their concerns right now, watching what's happening in our world.
Well, it's interesting. I think that my 15-year-old has been sort of an accidental activist with me for a while. I dragged him to Washington for the Women's March, and he wore a pussy hat and said, "This is
that's
what
Elijah, right?"
Like when he was like 11, I think. Yeah. So I mean, he's been inundated because of me and my husband for a long time, and and also he's in high school, and his teachers are pressing the issue in ways that are asking them to think critically about what's going on, reflect their thoughts and feelings about it, and so he's kind of in a different phase, and we've talked about it, and we've always talked about it, so this is not a new conversation in our house. The 11-year-olds are, it's interesting. So the 11-year-olds are, they have some special circumstances in their development. They are, we've had a lot of supports to catch them up to where they are now. And they've done a tremendous amount of growing, and they will continue to do a tremendous amount of growing. And sometimes socially or emotionally, they're not always where their peers are. And sometimes they're ahead. And sometimes they're, and sometimes they're not. So it depends on kind of the issue and the process they're in. I will tell you that we still have a lot of work to do in our house. I think that we've done a really good job of insulating our boys up to this point, not just because of who we are and where we live, but because we've had focal points that have to do with their development, their health and safety on a day-to-day basis, their emotional development, their intellectual development. And so while we do talk about race and social justice and, have literature in our house and have since they were little, we reach out to friends who are of different races and colors, and they have that in their life all the time. This moment has actually taught us that that we need to be more specific in our house. And again, it's about listening. So my kids they identify as part of a larger group, but my kids aren't a group, right? They're individuals. So, and they see these issues very differently than each other. One of them is sort of resisting talking about any of it at all. That he's just like, I don't want to deal with it. And the other one is is more embracing, identifying with Black heroes and talking about, we read a book about Jackie Robinson, we read a book about other social justice figures in our American history, in world history, current social justice figures, and he's embracing it more in his way that he can as an 11-year-old who has the developmental stage that he's in, which is different than some of his peers. So it's complex, and we're just continuing to listen and get specific on what they need individually in our house. Mm-hmm. And we have room to grow because we are imperfect, totally imperfect in our house. And we embrace that. We embrace that we're a little nuts and highly imperfect. And so we have growth to do too. So I'm certainly not above reproach just because I've been doing this work a while, and doesn't mean that I don't have a lot to learn, because we certainly do.
Yeah. And you know what I love about that story that you just shared with us about your family is that even in the same household, and as you mentioned, you have 3 diverse children and they're all in different stages in their life. They look at what's happening all in different ways. And I think that that's kind of like a very micro or macro or the smallest version that we could possibly look at of what's really happening in our world and in our society, is that everybody has a different take on it. And when we look at just your household, which is, 5 people in there, everybody has a little bit of a different take on it. Everybody has a different way of confronting their emotions on it, or thinking about it, or rejecting it, or however they want to look at it. And that's really what is happening in the outside world. And I think that's why it's so important. What you said is really to listen, and really just listen to the person that's speaking to you presently. Is that doesn't matter what's happening and all the other noise around. Who's speaking to you right now? Who's speaking to you in this moment? And listen to that person and see how you can have a great dialogue with them, and then move forward. And I think that's what I get from your story. And thanks for sharing that. And I know you got very personal there, and you always do. I really, really appreciate that about you.
Well, like I said, stories connect us, right? So if I can share some of my story and that helps somebody else to shine light on their own, and have a new insight about themselves, then that's my job as a coach, and that's my job as a human being.
Yep. This is the Shining Light Video Podcast Show, where I shine a light on my guests and the positivity they're spreading in their communities. I'm here with Merrit Minnemyer, the founder of Master of One Coaching, where she helps social entrepreneurs achieve their goals. And she does this through several different programs. And before we move on with the regular interview, I would like to ask you about one of those programs that you actually, I think, are closing up today, signups for today. Could you share with us that program and what it entails for these leaders?
Yeah, so I have an online group program that is going to run for, I think, 12 weeks. And it is based on the energy leadership development system that I'm trained in. And it has to do with showing up in the best possible way for yourself, and so that you can then in turn lead others. And it has to do with getting really clear on who you are, what you want, what your motivations are, and then enacting powerful action plans along those lines so that you are truly powerfully aligned with who you are in every aspect of your life, specifically looking at leadership, because as leaders, we set the tone for our organizations that we lead. And if people will do a lot of things for a lot of reasons. If they don't believe in you and your vision, and they don't see congruence, if they don't see integrity in what you're doing, which what you're saying and what you're doing, then they will blow you off in a hot second. So, and it leads to burnout, it leads to dissatisfaction, it leads to drift, it leads to nothing getting done, and people becoming miserable and abandoning ship. So as leaders, it is our most powerful initiative, our most powerful thing that we can do is to show up with our full selves, and how we do that. So that's what the program is about.
Yeah, and I think you're offering a discount right now as well,
Yeah, I'm
leading
offering a
into today.
discount because of crazy COVID times, 30% off the normal price. So it's a very reasonable price. There's payment plans. If you're interested, please go to Master of One Coaching. Look for the group online program. You can also sign up for my newsletter there and book a call with me if you want to talk more about what coaching might look like for you.
Awesome. And it looks like you already have somebody who's ready to go. I think it's from Crazy Times. He said, sign me up. So
That's
weird.
awesome.
Yep. And he says, sign me up. So weird. I'm in a spot where I want to be a life coach. Just spoke to 3 colleagues here in Australia and nothing grabbed me. So I paused for 2 days now and bam, here you are.
Oh,
And
that's great. That's
I
great.
think, isn't that amazing? That's so great. And it's that old quote of like, when you're ready, the teachers will show themselves kind of thing.
That's right.
And here she
Absolutely.
is, Merritt Minnemyer, right here for you, Crazy Times. She's right here for you.
And that's the person in
Definitely.
Australia, right? That's awesome.
Yes.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah, so we'll definitely have to touch base with them off air here. This is the Shining Light video podcast show where I shine a light on my guests and the positivity they're spreading in their communities. I connected with Merritt Minnemyer several years ago, and we connected because she has such a positive spirit. She has such a positive outlook. She's ready to solve any problem. She'll just stop and say, okay, what is it? What is it? How can I find a solution? How can I find a solution? And she'll give you little quick tips. And quite honestly, her little quick tips are why I'm able to do this today. Merritt, as a positive person, as somebody who thinks so outside the box and really does listen, could you share with us what you think is a positive outcome from, call it quarantine, although we're getting to exit quarantine now, or from our social stance today? You shared a little bit about what you think is a positive outcome, but could you share with us what you see as a positive outcome from this quarantine and this moment of pause that we've all experienced?
Yes, and so that's exactly what it's been, right? A moment of pause. And I suspect that we are going to continue to have opportunities to pause in various ways. And when we pause, well, we can either busy ourselves with distracting ourselves, and that's okay, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And but we can also choose in that pause to think a little bit about what we want to do next. And I think that in my experience and my observation, I've seen so many people, leaders and otherwise, who are taking the opportunity to really take this pause as a moment to reflect and build awareness and self-educate and consider what are the most thoughtful ways forward for me, for myself, for my business, for my community, for how I want to show up in the world, for what kind of ally I want to be, what kind of activist I want to be if I want to be one, what kind of mom, dad, partner I want to be. The single most powerful thing any one person can do is learn more about yourself. Because when you go out into the world, you influence others whether you're aware of it or not. And if you are influencing people positively, that spreads like wildflower. And if you're influencing people negatively, that also spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
So we are positive. We are powerful beings. We are powerful beings. Each individual is a powerful being. How will each one of you listening out there, how will you choose to show up for yourself and for the people in the world around you, whether you're aware of them or not? That is the single most important thing that you can choose, that you can make decisions about right now.
Yeah, I really, really like the thoughtfulness portion of all of that, is that just being thoughtful of what's going on in your world and really working on yourself. I think a lot of the guests that have come on this show, we speak about that self-development and refining what we're doing for work or for business or for parents or being a parent or things of that nature. But what you just mentioned there that really hit me too and hit a chord is focusing on yourself and developing yourself and fixing yourself, and well, not necessarily fixing, but working on yourself to be a better person.
Yeah.
Growing, exactly. Because you're right, it does impact so many people. So definitely being a positive force is better than being a negative force.
It feels much better too. It's much more fun. It's way more fun. And it doesn't mean that you can't fight for what you believe in. It doesn't mean that that's I mean, people will need to do that, right? There's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's a matter of how we go about it, right? So how are we showing up in our powerful way? How are we fighting for the things that we want to fight for? Are we doing it in a way that is going to move people to join us, to make better decisions, to build empathy and understanding? Or are we doing it to alienate people, right?
Right. Some positive change. And you do a lot of positive change in your community. You are a part of so many different community organizations, and I want to go through the list because you are a leader in these positions, and you're so active. So this is the Shining Light video podcast show where I shine a light on my guests and the positivity they're spreading in their communities. I'm here with Merritt Minnemyer, the founder of Master of One Coaching, where she helps you become a leader or see your vision even more clearly. She does this through several programs and even one-on-one coaching. You can reach out to her, find out her schedule, put your schedules together. She'll sit with you and just go through a very easy session where you can kind of just clear the air, take a deep breath, figure out what your vision is, and then see if it's something that you want to move forward with. I would definitely encourage every single one of you to sign up for her email, contact her, and find out about her emails because she sends these wonderful, very inspirational emails. I don't know how you find the time because you're the president of your BNI networking group. You're working with BNI up in Saugerties. You're part of the SUNY New Paltz Hudson Valley Future Summit. You were part of you graduated the Leadership Duchess class of 2018. You're a member of the New Paltz Regional Chamber of Commerce, and you do so much for the Chamber of Commerce. I sit on the board, so I get to hear all the little kudos that Merritt gets of working with the Chamber. No, you truly do. You devote your time to work with the Chamber and work with Chamber members to be able to help every single one of them as just a member of the community. It's not like just being able to just approach you at mixers and just say, hey, Merritt, I'm working on this, I'm working on that. And you just say, hey, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? And all of a sudden, here I am, right? So those are the little things. And then, of course, the Hudson Valley Women in Business. And then you're a speaker. You're part of the Speaker Bureau Rocket Fuel series. And you just do so much in the community. And I'd love for you to either elaborate on any of those that you would like to, but also maybe share with us any acts of kindness and generosity that you're witnessing in your community today.
Oh gosh, well, yeah. I mean, I'm very active in BNI. I'm actually I've kind of dived in. I don't know what the right version.
Yeah, you dove in.
I jumped in. There we go. I jumped in sort of whole body first into that about a little under 18 months ago, and it's been an incredible experience. Talk about a lot of growth for me. So that's been wonderful. I love the Chamber. I've also been active in the Duchess Chamber as well. And because I just like getting out there and meeting people and connecting with people. That's my jam. Let's see what else. Hudson Valley Future Summit, I've been really privileged to be a part of that as a future fellow for the last 2 years and sit on a group of people who are incredibly dynamic and powerful in this community, enacting positive change under the wonderful leadership of Don Christensen over there at SUNY New Paltz and Erica Marks and Lisa Sandick, who we know through the Chamber as well.
Yep.
An amazing team over there who's leading the charge there for SUNY, which is the State University of New York, for those of you who aren't in New York. Let's see what else. Acts of kindness. You know what I love? I love when I take a walk every day in my neighborhood. I have about a 4-mile loop that I take in my neighborhood, and I'm lucky that I live in kind of a quiet neighborhood with a big broad street, so it feels comfortable for me. And a few days ago, these signs started popping up in like little flowers all across the neighborhood. And they said they're like community unity signs. And they were created by another neighbor. And so I stopped a couple of neighbors and I was like, hey, where'd you get that sign? And said, oh, so-and-so made it. And so we've had this like beautiful little campaign of community unity in our community of our little neighborhood here. And I can't tell you how that goes such a long way to help me and my family feel safe here. As a multiracial, multicultural family, we are not always welcome everywhere. And we don't always feel, I can tell you lots of stories of when we were approached by people who thought they were doing good, by challenging our parenting, challenging why we were even together, challenging, who do you think you are with those kids? Or, and that goes not just because of how we appear in the surface, but also because we have some developmental challenges in our family, and that presents its own, more stories on that. Yeah, but conditions, I'll say they're conditions. So that has gone a long way for me. When I take my 4-mile walk, I see these beautiful, and they're not like pointed to any one direction. They just say, community. That's all they say. There's like a little heart with a globe, and then we, unity in our community. We're all together. That's all they say. And yet I can walk down my street and I know that my kids are safe here. And we as a family are safe here in my neighborhood. And you wouldn't think, looking at my neighborhood, I live in a lovely neighborhood, you wouldn't think there would be an issue here. But you'd be surprised, when issues come up, when people say things that are hurtful, that are that challenge our sense of safety. And yet when I see these little signs, I know that my community, my little neighborhood it's okay if my kids walk down the street, that they're going to be safe here. And there's nothing more powerful to me as a mom and to my husband and I as parents than that. So I would say that even though that's really small, it's not small to us. And so imagine what those actions that you can take out there in the world to just let people know, that you're safe, you're an ally, you're a safe place for people to come and talk. And it doesn't mean that our neighborhood's perfect. It doesn't mean that we, it doesn't mean that at all. It just means that we are making a statement that we're safe. So, and it seems so simple, and yet it's everything.
It's the little things that are so powerful, and that's what you're sharing with us, is that just that small gesture, that small little sign that says that unity, the unity of the community is really powerful. And that's what I love about this question, is that when I ask about acts of kindness and generosity, they don't have to be as big and globally impactful. They could just be this small little gesture, this small little thing to make you and your family feel safe. And the person who created that sign might not have any idea what they just did and how that rolls into your world, and then how your world rolls into so many other people's worlds. You shared an email with me that, again, part of this email series that you do, and you did speak about your open door policy and, of course, what's happening in this world. And I can't help but acknowledge that with the statement that you just made about your open door. Could you just share a little bit about that and how you mentioned that you are a safe place for people to come to?
Yeah, so, and I put it out a couple weeks ago too on social media, or last week I guess it was, where, I have a long history of facilitating difficult conversations, particularly around race, around also oppression, around sexism, around classism, all kinds of, and this is not just with like people who sit on one side of the other issue. I have a history of facilitating conversations with people who sit on all sides of the issue. I work with law enforcement. I work with schools and districts in all kinds of different areas of the country, and rural or urban, suburban. So elected officials, it's not just one side of any issue that I'm well versed in and want to hold space for. I'm holding space for all sides, with the understanding that everyone's coming to the conversation in a spirit to listen, to speak with integrity, to speak with respect, and to listen with integrity and respect. So if you're coming here to if you're coming here to bash somebody else, I'm not interested. But if you're coming here coming together to connect, to understand, to seek, to learn, I am always open for that. Well, maybe not always open, but I am regularly. I am regularly open, consistently open for that kind of conversation. Please don't call me at 2 a.m. if you want to talk. But yeah, so that is, and I've had several conversations with people who, maybe they can't afford coaching right now, or maybe they don't want to get into a full coaching agreement with me, but they just say, gosh, can I just process this out for a second? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. I have the time. I'm happy to give it. So if that's the case for you too, again, you can go to my website, book a call, and we can talk about it, and just, how ways in which you want to become a better you around any and all issues.
Yeah, and I love that. And I love the fact that what you're talking about there is about growth, is about really come to me. I'm a safe place if you're willing to grow, if you're willing to have a conversation. And I really love that. And I think the reason why you're not one-sided is because you're willing to listen. And that's what listening is. Listening is not making a judgment. Listening isn't coming to some sort of conclusion. Listening is just hearing what the other person is saying and processing it. And so that's what you certainly offer. That I've had the privilege to be able to have you listen to me, and it's really, really wonderful. I do want to share a quote that I quoted it from one of your emails. I want to share this with everyone. This is kind of just teeing up the Energy Leadership Online program. And in it said, in Merritt's email, it said, "The universe is calling us forward to lead with love, power, and vision for an extraordinary next phase of our collective evolution. It's not clean. It certainly isn't simple or easy. It is at times painful and profoundly uncomfortable. And to me, I took that as a quote for you because I just feel like that really embodies everything that you're about. And then I'm sure that anybody who signs up for this energy leadership online program is going to get so much out of it. Just based off of that statement alone, I can see that it can impact their lives in so many different ways, whether it's business, family, socially, however they choose, they're able to get impacted and become a leader in their world and in their community. So I really love that. That's a beautiful quote that I was able to take from you and share with everyone today. And definitely, if you have the opportunity, if you can, go to Master of One Coaching and sign up for the Energy Leadership Online Program. Today's the last day of registration. She's offering 30% off. And as Merritt said, she has different programs to be able to help you for payment plans, and it's very, very affordable. This is the Shining Light Video Podcast Show, where I shine a light on my guests and the positivity they're spreading in their communities. This is my 60th episode, and I'm wrapping it up today. I'm wrapping it up with a big bow on it. I have Merritt Minnemyer here, who's just an amazing person. She's the founder of Master of One Coaching, helping people see clearly and find their vision and execute on it. She's developing leaders every single day. And I can't have a better guest to wrap up my 60th episode with. I'm putting this show on pause. I'm hoping to bring it back in July. It's going to look different because I'm not going to do it every single day of the week. But what a better way to wrap it up with Merritt Minnemyer here. So Merritt, my last question that I always ask is, now that we're seemingly entering a new world and ending this quarantine, what's one place that you miss that you just can't wait to bust down their doors and say, take care of me?
Oh, take care of me. Oh,
well, yeah, however you want to look at it.
Do I have to pick just one?
You could pick as many as you'd like.
Gosh, I have so many. Well, New Paltz is an amazing place full of wonderful businesses, and I love so many of them. And so a shout out to Main Course. Gosh, we miss you. New Paltz Cinemas. Gosh, we miss you. That's like our date spot. It's our date. We go to Main Course and we go to New Paltz Cinemas. We miss that a lot. Gem Hair Studio. Desperate need of you. Thank you very much. I can't wait to go back to Gem Hair Studio. Lush Eco Salon, where I go to get my pedicures, and I love my pedicures, and I'm so excited to go back there. So many places.
Well, you know, my question of take care of me was so fitting. Every single one of those places take care of you, so that's awesome.
Yeah, that's why I like the question that way, because I mean, I could think of lots of, you know, obviously there's new places in town too, restaurants that just opened up right before COVID hit, which was crazy. There's that. I'm not even sure if I haven't actually checked out lately, but the Himalayan place on Main Street, Asian Fusion is a favorite.
Yeah.
So many. There's an amazing array of restaurants in town. Village Pizza, Garvin's, the Thai place. I mean, like, list goes on. Atavala, the list goes on and on and on. Certainly, I want to go back up to Mohawk Mountain House because I love it there. Amazing spa. I'll tell you too, shout out to Grant Freer at Freer Therapeutics, who is my massage therapist and who is a freaking genius. So everyone needs to go set up with Grant Freer as soon as he's available again, because he's just absolutely, like, he's one of those people that, like, you know, when you just know when people are channeling their talents from the divine, they're just like a vessel for divine talent. That is Grant Freer.
I gotta get him on.
Yeah, you do. He's amazing. Jeff Tisman, who does my photos. He's an incredible photographer who does these amazing shots for weddings mostly. He's hopefully going to he's already actually gotten back and does some kind of COVID era weddings, which is pretty cool. So I look forward to seeing him get out there again. Lucia Civilli, who I'm just going to shout her out, even though she's been working through the whole thing because she does digital work. But I'm excited to see her because she's one of my dear friends, and I haven't seen her except from my doorstep twice when she's dropped stuff off for me in a mask. So I'd love to go to have coffee with her. Lace Photo Media.
You will be.
I'm going to have coffee with you again at Main Course.
I know.
We did that day. Yeah.
Yes. Well, you'll be seeing Lucia soon, because Lucia and I are working on a project where we want to lure you into. So
yeah. Good. And I will say too, the schools. I cannot wait for schools to be back open. Please.
I think every mom is saying that.
Whatever hybrid program we need to put together, please open the schools in the fall. We can. And all. I mean, you know, obviously we can't. But like, and I get that. But please, for the love of all that is holy.
Awesome.
Allow my kids to go back to school in some way, any way. One day a week, whatever it is.
I love that. I love that. I think every mom is saying that, and that's really great. That's the most important one of them all. But you did a long list there of really great people in our community, and thank you for shouting them all out. I just don't want to take too much credit for one thing there. GAB, Gardner Association of Businesses, Lucia Seville and I are working on a project with Matt and the other members, and we would love to lure you into that project. We'll talk about that offline.
I'd love to. I'd love to. Lucia's she's an angel on earth. I just think she's a magical being. Also, I want to shout out, speaking of the schools, I want to shout out the teachers in not just in New Paltz, who have been incredible with our kids. Really, really amazing. But all the teachers who have been working so hard to make all this craziness work for their students, and the administrators out there. It's not, I mean, gosh, what a Sisyphean task. And it's certainly, I know it's not been perfect. I know a lot of parents have been upset or angry or whatever, and we're all trying to figure it out. But man, teachers work their backsides off, and at least the ones that I've worked with, and I've worked with thousands of teachers.
Well, thank you for that. That hits home right. That hits home right for me because I'm married to a teacher. She teaches in the Poughkeepsie School District, and she teaches special ed math to sixth graders. So you could only imagine the challenge there.
She doesn't know my kids personally, but she knows my kids. Like that, she knows exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about my kids.
Yeah, and then my mother, who worked for the New York City Board of Ed for over 30 years in all facets. Spearheaded the bilingual program, the ESL learning program for children coming from Haiti and from other places around the world. And then she's still working. She works for the CSA, where she helps these principals and these administrators guide them through before the challenges of COVID. And of course, she's been guiding them through the challenges today. So what you just said there definitely is true. And I get to witness it firsthand. So thanks for that, Merritt. Merritt, before we wrap up, I would like to just get your final thoughts on anything and your last message that you would like to share with everyone as we wrap up our show today.
Final thoughts. Well, my go-to message is, and it's not mine, it's not certainly unique to me, but it's the message that I go back to every day whenever I get into a situation that I find is difficult. It's referred to in some texts like the Course in Miracles as the holy instant, and it is choose love. That is and the reason it's called a holy instant is because it's a prayer or meditation that we can say to ourselves when we get into any sort of situation where we feel like there is what we call resistance or contrast, things that screw us up. They screw us in our thinking, right? Ugh, I feel crappy. I don't know what to do here. I don't know how to handle the situation. This person is driving me crazy. Man, if you can go to choose love, you'll find the answer a lot more quickly than you will if you choose other things. So that was the message that I said that my late husband Peter left me the night he died. That is a message that my husband Tom and I live by every day. It is our shining light. It is our guidepost, our North Star. And it's, again, not perfect. I do never espouse perfection ever in any way, shape, or form, ever. But I do like a tattoo now and again. So there it is.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Choose love. It's so true. My wife and I say it to each other all the time when one of us are trying to reprimand one of the kids. We pull them aside and we look at each other and go, hey, treat her with love, treat her with love. Yeah, because we're like, we know this is so hard. We just want to
but yeah. But no, I'm going to choose love because I love
choose love. Yeah. No one said it's easy. No one said it's easy, but if you can try to work towards it and choose love. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that message. This show has been the Shining Light Video Podcast Show, where I shine a light on my guests and the positivity they're spreading in their communities. My guest today has been Merritt Minnemyer, the founder of Master of One Coaching. She has a great program that's closing today, so please visit masterofonecoaching.com to be able to enroll yourself in that program. She's got a great discount available to you. But she's always available, and she's going to help you find your vision, see a little bit more clearly. So book some time with her to be able to do that. She's a great resource in order to help you do that. You can book a one-on-one coaching session with her and all sorts of different ways to be able to learn about yourself and be able to grow. And Merritt's going to be able to facilitate that. Merritt, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Before we wrap up. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. For me, it's a privilege having you on. But before we wrap up, I do want to acknowledge what is happening in our society today. My show is a platform to promote the amazing people in our communities, and it will continue to do so, to shine a light on the positive people and the actions they take to help each other. Therefore, I'd like to applaud all the communities that had peaceful, nonviolent protests and their positive actions towards equality. The show will continue to shine a light on positivity and the amazing people in our communities, no matter their race, gender, religion, politics, or any other perceived differences. I'd also like to update everyone on Forgotten Children of Haiti's fundraiser, Mass for the Front Line. Due to all of our generous donors and sponsors and everybody who supported us, we were able to raise $5,000 and actually exceed our goal. So thank you so much for helping us do that. Yes, thank you, Merritt. Thank you, everybody, for helping us do that. But of course, Forgotten Children of Haiti, we started in 1993, and we have no intentions of ending anytime soon. So our vision and our mission continues. And so you can contact me if you'd like to make a donation for Forgotten Children of Haiti, as we do still support the St. Luke Foundation, which has a hospital and an orphanage in Gascoff, Haiti. I would also like to acknowledge our sponsor for today, which is the Mindful Living Coaching Program. In this program, Matt Alfonso helps you gain clarity, live present, and improve your self-love. This program is designed to help you shift your mindset and make lasting changes. Please message at MattAlfonso1 on Instagram and use the promo code Shining Light Podcast to receive a significant discount. That's Matt Alfonso and the number 1. I'll also be taking part in this program and will be sharing a video diary with everybody that follows me. This show is also sponsored by HV Gold Rewards, the largest business network Facebooking group in the Hudson Valley. I always mess that kind of up. The largest Facebook networking group in the Hudson Valley, helping you shop local at a discount. Visit hvgoldrewards.com to buy your $10 discount card. Enter promo code FCH, and HV Gold will donate $8 towards our fundraiser. This show with Merritt Minnemyer will replay today on my Facebook page at Michael Esposito Inc. at 6 o'clock today. This is my 60th episode, and I am putting the show on pause. I'll probably bring it back in July, but I won't be doing it every single day of the week. So I want to thank all of my viewers, all of my followers, all of the people who've taken part in the show, all of my guests like Merritt, and all the other guests, the amazing people that I've had on the show. Thank you so much for helping me achieve my goal of doing this show and of being able to do it for 60 days straight, not taking a day off. It's just been an amazing run. I've had so much fun doing it, and I look forward to being able to bring more amazing people to you to watch and to meet. So thank you all so much for all of that support. Merritt, thank you so much for coming on the show. You know how I feel about you. You're just an amazing person. Merritt will be sharing all of her contact information in all the comment sections to this show and to all the marketing that I've done. Thanks again, Merritt. As always, everyone, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you all very soon, I promise. Bye. Bye, Merritt.